justice for all, guide our work, and discipline our decisions as we build community together. May we care for the least and the lost, as well as those who leverage their talents and resources for the betterment of this world. As we carry on with this good work, we pray for your blessings here in Kernersville and in the United States of America. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. It's great to see everyone here tonight. There's a lot of important things on the agenda, and we'll go through them in order. As we begin the meeting, though, if there's anyone who'd like to address the board on a non-agenda item or an item on the agenda, there's speaker cards at the back, and so you can fill out a speaker card and give it to our town attorney and town manager sitting here at this first table, and then we can recognize you in turn. One of the great things that the Board of Aldermen and myself as mayor can do is recognize important people, occasions, and causes in our community. And today we have two of them. There's a very special group of people here that are led by the supervisor, Amy Cluis, who's been in that position for a number of years, and they are our police department dispatchers. So oftentimes when you think of emergency services providers, firefighters and police officers are the first things that come to mind. But paramedics also are essential in emergencies, and others give a lot of support to those departments, and in fact are every bit as crucial to the life-saving and life-improving missions of the department. So public services, which we'll hear about road condition pavements later today, can block the roads and help direct the traffic and make things safe in a variety of circumstances and situations, natural disasters, and criminal or medical events, traffic accidents, and many, many other things. And likewise, within the Kernersville Police Department, we have a very special department, and I'm so proud that it is housed here at the Kernersville Police Department in this building, that we have our own dispatchers. Nationally, they're known as telecommunicators also, so the national observance is Telecommunicator Week, and many of the fine individuals in that role have brought their families with them tonight, so I really appreciate that you're bringing your children and your spouses to see that we at the town of Kernersville recognize and appreciate the importance of your work, and it's that calm and reassuring voice at the other end of the line for someone who's calling on probably the absolute worst day of their life, and yet you're there for them to guide them through. And also, a part of the role that isn't as often noted is the role they provide in guiding the first responders, the police or firefighters, as to the scene and the kinds of information and mapping and other information they have, and the communication liaison they are with maybe utility companies or other agencies. So it's a lot that goes into the job, a lot of training, a lot of dedication, and most of all heart. And we so appreciate the work you do every single day of the year, but this week we get to recognize it. So I'll invite Amy and the rest of her team forward for a presentation. The manager. So Ms. Cluis has been for 4 years the manager of this department, and with the Kernersville Police Department for 13, and she does such a good job we don't even know, it just works flawlessly. So you always know if somebody's been there 2 or 3 years and it's like a problem, or 10 years. But it's just, it works seamlessly. And we're so grateful for the work that you do and the mentoring that you give to the members of your team, and the transition that you were able to carry on of some folks that have been in position for a very long time, and to keep that high level of service, even as our town has really grown quite a lot, and probably the backgrounds and kind of concerns of the people who are calling in have really changed. I mean, post-pandemic and everything else that has happened. So I'm going to set down the agenda. All right. So as Mayor of Kernersville, it's my honor to recognize these dispatchers. Emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. Whereas public safety dispatchers are the first contact our citizens have with emergency services, and are a vital link for our police officers by monitoring their activities, giving them information, and ensuring their safety. Whereas public safety dispatchers are more than just a calm and reassuring voice at the other end of the phone. They are our unseen first responders. They are knowledgeable and highly trained individuals who work closely with other police, fire, and medical personnel. Whereas public safety dispatchers of the Kernersville Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and personal safety, obviously, for many people going through many different kinds of situations. Whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Whereas public safety dispatchers daily serve the public in countless ways without recognition by the beneficiaries of their services. If you think about it, if you're a dispatcher and that call comes in to 911, you don't know if you're going to be on the line with them for a few minutes, maybe a few hours, maybe longer. So that's that reassuring presence and that kind of day-to-day uncertainty, but the knowledge that you're helping people in ways that they can't even tell you how much they appreciate you. I think any of us can think back to if we've had a time to call 911, what a horrible, hard day that was. So imagine answering those calls throughout the day and night. This is a department that operates 24/7 for the town of Kernersville. As mayor of the town of Kernersville, North Carolina, it's my honor to proclaim April 13th to 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week in the town of Kernersville, in honor of these men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our town and our citizens safe. Thank you, Amy, for all you do. And I'll present this proclamation.
I just want to thank you, Mayor and Curtis and the board. We really appreciate the recognition each year, and it means more than you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you all want to shake hands with the board? Town manager and town attorney?
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, please. Chief Tilley.
I couldn't be any more proud of our telecommunicators. You guys do a fabulous job, especially over the last year and a half. A lot of people may not know they've been extremely short-staffed, and they have filled in those gaps and those hours and haven't complained at all, and done a fantastic job and delivered the service that this community is used to getting. So I want to thank you all for that, and really, just y'all do a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Let's do another round of applause.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I say to the family members that are here, if you're a child of or a spouse of one of the folks that was just at the front of the room, would you stand up? Because you're a big part of that team too. Stand up and raise your hand. We owe a word of thanks to each of you because without your support, as one of the T-shirts that was just was facing me here said, not all heroes, not all are heroes, but some of the heroes wear headsets. And your spouse and your mom and your dad wear that. So thank you guys for being supportive. We're proud of you and of your parents very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Apple, for your additional comments. Next, we'd like to recognize Arbor Day. So I first recognized this observance many years ago. We've been a tree city in North Carolina for many years and consistently celebrating Arbor Day as part of that. But I remember it really had even more meaning when my oldest son took a job in Idaho. And I rode with him across country, and we rode through Nebraska. It was a very long 800 miles through Nebraska. And there's a lot of farmland, but not a lot of trees. And we didn't stop at the Arbor Day Foundation offices, but we drove really close to where it was and saw the interstate exit sign and that. And I really could understand more J. Sterling Morton, who was a newspaper guy. He was a journalist. His concern about the all the trees that had been cut down and how that really changed the landscape. And I think as North Carolinians looking around our state right now in the spring, the trees are so beautiful as they're budding out and blossoming. And all of the shades of light green and darker green and the shades of red and pink before the blossoms come out. Spring is a very beautiful time in our state. And I'm really proud of the town of Kernersville for becoming a tree city, and also for our attention to planting new trees when we build new construction projects like the rec center, when we've built roads. We've really had a good practices for maintaining the existing older trees we have in the community at our parks, and just the choices that we've made as a community to have a variety of trees in the different road corridors, to have that diversity, to have that protection against disease and weather. That as Kernersville grows and things change, that is something we do need to continue to focus on. But I'm very proud of where our community has gone and the choices we've made to keep Kernersville a green and vibrant place, in addition to being just a great place to live. And Ernie Pages, as Director of Parks and Recreation, has a lot to do with the management of that urban canopy and decisions for the maintenance and care of our trees. And his department is the one that organizes and appreciates for our community the celebration of Arbor Day. And it's been a lot of things, big and small, over the years. There have been big community events, and then there's been smaller but really impactful educational efforts to smaller groups of students. So we appreciate the efforts of your department all year long to help preserve and improve our urban canopy. And I think that in 1872, when J. Sterling Morton started the Arbor Day movement by proposing to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a day be set aside for the planting of trees, that led to the creation of the Arbor Day holiday, he'd be very proud that his effort inspired communities across the United States to do the same. Do you have any comments for us?
Yeah, like the mayor said, we've been celebrating for a long time, the Arbor Day celebration. We've done different things throughout the years to celebrate trees or just bring general awareness to children about trees and how they grow. Over the past couple of years, we've been participating with the county in terms of celebrating Arbor Day. Right now, the plan is to do that again at the fairgrounds. Right now, we're going through some staffing changes, so that might change, but we're in the process of doing another Arbor Day celebration again, probably something more local, but we're in the still planning process on
And
that.
then how many trees do you think you planted for the rec center? And
52 trees. 52 trees at the rec center by themselves that line the road, and then that's not including plantings that are near the building itself. So
as Senior Gardens has become part of the town and a town facility, we have the ginkgo trees and all of the trees there at the garden too.
that's right. We have right now we're doing some tree management. We're going to go back and plant some new trees. We're replanting the perennial border that's on the front side of the building there. So we're doing a lot of tree management now. We're doing some improvements. So there might some old trees might come out, but we'll put some new trees back in their place. So we are actively participating in our tree management.
Thank you, Ernie. Here's a proclamation recognizing April 25th as Arbor Day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
All right, today we do not have any public hearings. We just have public session items. So the first item is speakers from the floor, and I do have a gentleman, Matt Sin, signed up to speak.
All right. Hi, my name is Maxon. I'm born and raised in North Carolina, Forsyth County. I attended public schools, K through 12. Thank you, Mayor, Board, fellow citizens, for giving me a couple minutes to speak. So I believe in the people of North Carolina, and I believe in public schools. Public schools are like a load-bearing wall. If you weaken them, the whole house of our society crumbles. So why am I here? I'm here because I'm a little concerned about the news, about the, cuts that we've all heard about, like the Department of Education and grants and all this Project 2025 stuff, regardless of, what you think, it is going to affect people in North Carolina. So as we had an invocation and we gave the Pledge of Allegiance, Jesus said that we have responsibility to treat the least of us as we do if it was Christ himself. So when I hear about things like cuts to reduced or free lunch, grants to farmers being canceled, North Carolina farmers who are providing fresh food to students, which might be their only nutritious meal of the day, concerned. So as we all know, the problems of tomorrow are going to be solved by the children of today, and we got to make sure that everybody has a chance, no matter what their economic situation is. So again, why am I here? I'm here because I'm a conservative, I believe in cuts, but we need to make sure that our children and students are protected. So whenever we hear about these cuts, we have to make sure that we tell our state and national representatives in Washington, D.C. and Raleigh that they can't make cuts without making sure that our children and students and teachers still get the support that they're promised. So we have a saying where I'm from that, if they're not going to follow what we want, that dog don't hunt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, item B is the 2024 annual reports and 2025 budget requests. And the first is Next Step Ministries. I'll recognize Alexandria Hicks.
Hey, everyone. All right. So my name's Alexandria Hicks. I'm the Executive Director with Next Step Ministries.
Maybe speak just a little bit louder so we can all hear you.
Can do. Can I pull this down
Yes.
just a hair? Okay, I'm a little short. I apologize. All right. So our mission is to provide refuge, advocacy, and education to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault in the broader community. We utilize strengths-based approach when we do this. So we provide services focusing on client autonomy and long-term sustainability. So we utilize empowerment model with clients. We have 4 pillars of our core services. The first is going to be our safe house. It's entirely free of charge. We cover all of the daily necessities, hygiene items, food, clothing, and transportation. We have advocates on site 24/7 that are there to provide supportive services, but that also cover our crisis line. We also provide case management. That includes resource referrals for job readiness programs, housing, and counseling referrals. We also help with address confidentiality program and victims compensation. And then we also have advocacy services, which is a key part of what we do, that crisis intervention piece. And so we have advocates that are community-based victim advocates that work closely with KPD and provide that follow-up supportive services for those who have experienced domestic violence and sexual assault. So we receive those reports from KPD, we provide the follow-ups, and we provide court advocacy and accompaniment for protective orders and also criminal cases as well. We provide hospital accompaniment for those who may have experienced sexual assault and need to or choose to go to the hospital and get a forensic examination. And we also provide domestic violence and sexual assault support groups. Last but definitely not least, probably one of the most important pieces is going to be the education piece. We provide prevention, and I think that that's really important because it's important to be preventative and not just reactive. We want to stop the cycle of violence before it begins instead of having to be reactive to it. So in order to do that, we have community workshops and awareness events. We provide training with schools and businesses and churches in the area. And we really try to focus those prevention efforts for at-risk populations in our area. Our 2024 initiatives include the children's programming. We have got a stuffed animal drive that we do in April every year. This is to recognize Child Abuse Awareness Month. Last year, we were able to give away stuffed animals to children in the Kernersville community, and those that were left over, we were able to provide to Kernersville Police Department, the Children's Law Center, and also the Backpack Beginnings program. We also had the children's mural event in Harmon Park in October. Children were able to come into Harmon Park and sit down and paint a canvas for us, and they were able to show us what they felt love meant. We took those and hung them up in our admin office, so everyone can come by and see those if you'd like. We also have Hannah Lundy, who you can see pictured here. She's our on-staff LCSW. She provides in-house workshops for our parents in our safe house to help them learn how to assist and support their children who are also going through the trauma cycle as well. And she was able to help and provide a workshop at Kernersville Elementary School, and that's where she's at here, for their Wildcats at Heart Night. So she was able to do presentations with the parents there who are coming through as well. Another piece was our Spanish programming. We were able to do a soft launch of it in fall of 2024. We hired our bilingual victim advocate, and she was able to also begin assisting with those KPD reports. So as they come in, she is also able to do response for those too. We are hoping to be able to reduce re-victimization of underserved populations in Kernersville, and we're trying to increase the accessibility of our resources. And also our community partnerships and outreach efforts. So this is not an exhaustive list, but this is some of the partners that we've been able to work with in 2024, and some that just have helped us along the way. And we're just very fortunate to have been able to work with them. And this is just a collage of some of the great people that we had that were working with us in 2024. Some are volunteers, some are people who are donors for us. I want to just point out we had the Adult Corrections of Forsyth County that made a really generous contribution to our safe house. And then we also had Girl Scout Troop 10145 who donated birthday bags for the kids in our safe house. And they also provided a slew of cookies. So that was great for all the kids that are in our safe house too. So our 2024 impact, we served a total of 321 clients. Of those, 111 were Kernersville residents. Again, coming back to that long-term sustainability piece, we do 30, 60, and 90-day follow-ups after the individuals have left our services. And at those times, 93% of the individuals reported being in safe housing. And then of those 321, 95 were children. And I also want to point out that 9,265 hours of service were provided to us by volunteers in the Kernersville community. And without that support and without the Kernersville community, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So why does your support matter? So this is some of the things that we were able to do with the support of the town and the community. We were able to host 18 of the children in trauma workshops, so that supported our LCSW, and then the one at the Kernersville the Kernersville Elementary School. 9 months of utility costs at our safe house. But the biggest and the most important for me, that's close to my heart, is our new playground area for the safe house. If you can see, the top picture is what it used to look like. You can obviously tell it needed some TLC. It looks a little rough. But we were able to, and I can't show you a picture of what it looks like now for safety reasons, obviously, but you can see below it the swing set. We were able to replace it with that swing set. It's beautiful. We were able to put new barriers in and also have the play-safe rubber mulch put in. And it is an amazing backyard area for our kids to be able to come in and hang out and just spend time and play and be kids again. So it was just a really great addition to our safe house. Looking forward, we've got 4 initiatives that we're working at. The Resource Center development. So we're wanting to create a resource center in our admin office. The biggest reason that we're looking at it is for e-filing purposes. E-filing is supposed to be rolling out in Forsyth County in July, so we're hoping to be able to have a hub here in Kernersville where individuals can file for protective orders in Kernersville without having to drive all the way to Winston-Salem. And so if we're able to do that, it'll also be a resource hub for not only victims but community members as well. So that's that advocacy, but it's also job readiness programs and counseling and other type of food resources and things of that nature. With our Spanish programming, we're going to continue to provide the advocacy services and just grow that and have more support groups and education efforts. But with community education, we've actually grown in doing mobile advocacy. So that's meeting individuals where they are. So that could be being able to go to the library or go to parks and be able to offer advocacy services there, where we offer our outreach bags that have basic necessities in them, self-care items and things like that, also educational materials. Last but definitely not least is our thrift store initiatives. We're working on doing store improvements, so just little things that we can do in the store to increase and maximize customer experience. And we're also trying to have just more sale opportunities there, Last week, we were able to have our spring reset and reopen. So if anybody was able to go by and see it, if you haven't, please go check it out. The staff and the volunteers did such a great job. It's beautiful. So, yeah. All right, thank you. I think that's all that I have, but I'm open to questions if you have it.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Kerner's Folly.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Too much? Good evening, Mayor, Aldermen, Mr. Swisher, everybody. My name is Susanna Melliott. I am the Executive Director of the Kernersville Foundation, and I am happy to be here this evening to share our activity and our impact for our fiscal year 2024. I am joined by members of our Board of Directors. If y'all will please stand. Thank you. Together, we provide an unwavering commitment both to the historic structure and to our community. The mission of the Kernersville Foundation is to foster an appreciation for history, the arts, and enterprise through the preservation and interpretation of Kernersville. Our vision is to be a place of connection between the past and the future, between the arts and industry, and among people who share a common appreciation for innovation. For our most recent fiscal year, we are taking a look at our funding sources here. We received 35.2% of our funding from our tours and programs, 33.2% from grants, 25.1% from individual, organizational, and corporate contributions, and 6.5% from other income, which includes facility rentals, gift shop sales, and interest. We are so thankful for the support we received from our 122 individual or household members, 20 corporate members, 46 Oktoberfest event sponsors, and 4 foundations. For the completion of the Visitor Center project, we received funding from the town of Kernersville, from Forsyth County, and from the state of North Carolina, with special thanks to Senator Joyce Kralvik and Representative Donnie Lambeth. As for our expenditures for the most recent fiscal year, 63% of our operating costs went to payroll, 14% to utilities, maintenance, and insurance, 6% to equipment and supplies, 4% to our gift shop inventory, 2% to fundraising expense, 2% to marketing, 2% to banking and credit card fees, and 1% to program expenses. This graph shows how visitation to Kernersville campus has grown over time, starting in 2005 with 6,392 visitors and increasing steadily with a little bit of a dip for COVID to 16,287 for our fiscal year 2024. To promote Kernersville, and other local attractions, we distribute rack cards and event calendars to North Carolina welcome centers, hotels, and other attractions. We engage our digital audiences primarily through social media with an estimated reach of over 750,000 accounts during our last fiscal year. We send our monthly e-newsletter to approximately 5,000 recipients, add our events and programs to community calendars, send our regular media releases, conduct radio and television interviews, and contract for paid advertising in publications such as Our State, O. Henry Magazine, Triad City Beat, and other outlets. For Christmas during this last fiscal year, we worked with the Reuben Rink Company to design and place a billboard on Salem Parkway, highlighting the Follies location in downtown Kernersville. We had a fantastic local turnout. So where do our visitors come from? Well, we use our visitor zip codes that we collect upon entry, and we are able to track and analyze where our visitors originate. This map shows our visitor locations along the East Coast. And this map shows where our visitors come from if they're traveling a little further. During the last fiscal year, the Kerners Valley Foundation served over 16,000 individuals through tours, programs, and events. Here are some highlights from our fantastic year. 715 students explored Kerners Valley on field trips from the following schools. And 312 adults discovered the historic home through a customized guided tour from the following locations. And what do our visitors have to say about their experience? Well, about 58% of folks spend an hour inside Kerners Valley, and about 37 report spending even more than an hour. We receive high marks for affordability of our admission, parking, our friendly and knowledgeable staff, and we can also see our accessibility challenges reflected in this feedback as well. The majority, about 45% of our visitors, report hearing about us through friends and family, with 42% reporting that they found us online, which is a great combination of word of mouth and search engine optimization. And most importantly, 100% of our survey respondents said they would recommend visiting Kerners Valley to others. According to our online reviews, we are known for the high quality of our tour experience, our helpful staff, the originality of the home, and its quirkiness. We are happy to report that Kerners Valley consistently ranks among the top 3 attractions in Kernersville, alongside other meeting places such as Triad Park and Paul J. Senior Botanical Garden, both which are destinations for travelers from outside of Forsyth County as well. In fiscal year 24, we held 19 programs and events that engaged over 8,000 individuals in 3 categories: children and families, adults, and community. We conduct evaluations for all of our programs and events with descriptions submitted that are overwhelmingly positive, with words such as engaging, family-oriented, informative, or theatrical, interactive, and imaginative, and very kid-friendly. We are going to go into fast mode for a recap of fiscal year 24's events. Here we go. Our 13th annual Oktoberfest was an amazing success. We had some wonderful corporate and local sponsors for that event. We had Girl Scout Day Playing the Past, our Spirited Halloween Ball, our Victorian Christmas presented by H&R Block. That was our winning room for the best decorated room for Christmas of 2023, the Peacock Room, decorated by Connie Kerner. We collaborated with the Kernersville Museum, the Botanical Garden, and the Kernersville Auto Museum for our Kernersville Yuletide celebration. And we hosted another Christmas by Candlelight in association with Kernersville Little Theater, presented by McDaniel and Company and Piedmont Endodontics. In February, we had our St. Valentine's celebration. We had Homeschool Day in the spring, where we studied inventors and inventions of the Victorian era. We had a really big day. Exactly 1 year ago, we opened the John and Bobby Wolf Visitor Center, the very happy celebration in conjunction with our first ever Kernersville Community Day. We offered free admission for over 500 Kernersville residents. We had an epic Easter egg hunt, yard games, art activities, birthday cake, and more. And we are looking forward to this year's Community Day on Good Friday, April 18th. We hope to see you all there. Some awesome sack races and cake from Cake and All Things Yummy on Kernersville Community Day. We also held our Spring Vintage Market presented by the Reuben Rink Company. We celebrated Historic Preservation Month all month long with trivia, lecture, and a special scavenger hunt. We hosted our Victorian Parlor Series Jazz Club in collaboration with the Winston-Salem Symphony in historic Cupid's Park Theater. We had a really, really good time on Family Day, Fun on the Farm, presented by Caudles, and we also worked in conjunction with the Kernersville Auto Museum for that event. We held our 2nd annual Folly Flower Show. It was really, really fun. Amazing floral designers from all over the Piedmont Triad. We held our herbarium workshop. It was rooted in our collections artifacts belonging to Doré Kerner. We held our fall vintage market, our biggest market yet, 45 local vendors and over 3,000 shoppers and visitors. We'd like to thank our staff, our board of directors, and our volunteers. Our education, special event, and program volunteers logged over 800 hours this year. We did a recalculation, we're actually over 1,000 hours this year for volunteers. So moving on to our strategic goals. So along with a record-breaking number of programs and visitors this year, the Kerners Valley Foundation has made major progress towards these important goals that were outlined back in 2019. These goals have been made achievable through the completion of the Visitor Center and include growing sustainable infrastructure. With the expansion of our organization to the Visitor Center, we are able to increase our earned revenue streams and offer opportunities to returning visitors. Another strategic goal was to widen accessibility, which again has been made possible by the technology and equipment in the Visitor Center, including an orientation theater, comfortable and flexible program space, and a virtual tour option for visitors with mobility difficulties. Our final strategic goal was to deepen engagement with the content of the historic house and our collection. The Visitor Center has also helped us accomplish this, opening up a new world of programming possibilities that are handicap accessible, high-tech, and available to the community at low to no cost. Since the opening of the Visitor Center, we have also been able to step into our role in service of Kernersville and Forsyth County as a tourism resource, working in collaboration with existing organizations such as the Kernersville Chamber of Commerce and the town of Kernersville. We have also continued our strategic partnerships with organizations such as Visit Winston-Salem, the Association of Visitor Attractions, and the Forsyth County Historic Resources Commission. We also serve local attractions and organizations by collecting and distributing information about services, programs, and local events to our visitors. So what is next for the Kerners Valley Foundation? Well, we are excited to jump back into the restoration and preservation of historic Kerners Valley. And I am thrilled to publicly announce for the first time that we will begin restoration of the South Guest Room, the bathing room, and the South Stairway in mid-April, with a target completion of mid-May of 2025 in time to celebrate Historic Preservation Month. We are also working on creating a new strategic plan, establishing Aunt Dealey's house as a landmark, enhancing the campus, providing increased learning opportunities, such as our monthly Taste of History program, which is free for all participants. We are also hard at work on increasing our marketing outreach and community involvement, providing more content to students on field trips and through internships, and continuing to advance our mission. As always, we appreciate any feedback, so if there are any questions or comments at this time, I'm happy to answer.
I really noted that your slide with the graph about time spent inside the folly, being an hour or an excess of an hour. I think that many of us who've lived in Kernersville for a long time and gone through the folly over the years, it used to be a much faster tour. The level of historical explanation and the interesting facts and the additional just little displays of Victorian times that are within the historic structure are fantastic. And if you haven't gone to the Folly recently and seen it, I'd highly recommend it, going even outside one of the special events. It's just a depth of bringing history to our community and history of the times, as well as this is this musical instrument or this is this room. It's more details about how people lived in the Victorian time. And the historical exhibits in the visitor center are original. They're written by and produced by the staff at the Folly, and they're very well done. So they don't take a long time to look at, but they change. So it's good to stop by and see that as well. So I think you've just done a really good job guiding the Folly to kind of its next phase. And we appreciate the work that you've done and the work of the volunteers. Are there any questions of the board?
Mayor, ditto on what you just said, but two things in particular. The graph with the increasing numbers of visits and visitors is impressive. That does not happen simply by unlocking the door and turning the lights on every day.
I wish it was that easy.
Impressive. The second thing is I've become, through not all of my own choosing, but sensitive to your accessibility challenges. I can't imagine that you would have been able to do better given the physical plan than to do what you're doing through the programs, through the visitor center. And I guess I would just ask you, although I'm hopefully on the tail end of my need for that, I hope that you will continue to develop that and broaden those programs and those presentations to include, for those who do have accessibility challenges, to be more a part, continue to be a growing part of what the Folly has to offer. So good comments. Great job.
Thank you, Alderman Apple. And I'd just like to quickly add that future plans for our virtual tour involve virtual reality tours with the goggles, so you can be fully immersed in a virtual experience, walking up and down the stairs of Kerner's Folly as if you had no mobility challenges at all. Thank you.
I think I'd still be careful on that back staircase.
Well, it's getting restored soon, so hopefully it'll be a little more fun. Thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you.
I would just like to add one comment, please, in regards to the community projects that you do from the visitor centers. I'd like to acknowledge that y'all, how inclusive you are with your program, especially during African American History Week, the program that y'all put on this week, this year, to include the African American population here in Kernersville during that week. I'm very appreciative of y'all doing that this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gorham, and we appreciate your participation in that. And we had an amazing time hearing about your experience and that of Joanne J. Falls, and we can't wait to welcome you back for next year's celebration. And Juneteenth as well. We are looking forward to our Juneteenth celebration. Thank you.
All right, the Shepherd Center.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I was just commenting before the meeting to Alderman Apple that it's been 1 year since I came and visited y'all. My first year is official April 8th, and this was my first stop when Debbie presented, and a lot of things have changed in that year, and so I'm excited to share that with you all. Hence why I'm standing here instead of Debbie, and I wanted the opportunity to speak as the Executive Director of the Shepherd Center, as what we have done to grow the center and grow the visitation and the programming, as well as the services that we provide. So, as many of you know, we are an interfaith ministry that supports older adults and individuals with disabilities. We do that through our volunteers, and I'm excited to share all the great work that they've done. We've also been a senior center of excellence for over 25 years. We were the first one in the county to be certified, and we continue to be certified. And so we're really proud of that. Also want to take a moment to thank my board members who came, as well as their spouse who also came, because as you said, it takes two, right? It's the people who support us to be able to do this. And so moving forward, last year in 2024, we focused on growing our programming. We also focused on growing our attendance. And part of that was to focus on building the programming that we offer at the Shepherd Center. We also grew our volunteer base. But most importantly, we wanted to empower our seniors to take a full advantage of the opportunities that they have. And that meant asking them what they wanted. And if they came to us and said, we'd like to start a program doing this, then that's what we did. But instead of us leading it, we chose and encouraged them to lead that. So what that resulted in is a 16% increase in participation overall in our programs. with a total of over 21,000 individuals visiting our senior center. We operate Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And throughout the week, we offer regular programming in arts, social activities, life enrichment, health and wellness, education, and then creative opportunities as well. I would be remiss if I didn't take advantage to share a few of the other things that we do besides providing the senior center here in the community. We also offered and provided over 1,000 home-based services to individuals in our community at no cost to those individuals. And those programs include our medical transportation. We actually provided over 3,000 medical trips for individuals, over 400 personal shopper experiences, and over 126 handy person services. And all of those services that we provide help people stay in their home and in their community, leading to higher quality life overall. We also connected over 380 individuals with volunteer opportunities, providing, those individuals provided over 19,000 hours of volunteer services. We always say that we wouldn't be here without our volunteers. They are our lifeblood, they are what sustain us, and they are what get us up in the morning. The total financial impact of the services through the senior center, as well as the home-based services that we provide, is over $1 million benefit to the community. So as I mentioned, there's been some changes and some additions. I moved into the executive role in April of last year. Lisa Miller moved into the operations manager position. Claire stayed in her volunteer services manager. Debbie moved into senior center director, which we were very excited about. And then we also added an additional staff, Dawn Rowe, to help with our volunteer services. Dawn mainly focuses on organizing those 3,000 trips for transportation services. One of the programs that we're really excited about and have pivoted on, and we spoke about it last year, is our intergenerational programming. So last year we shared with you all about Caleb's Creek and our Pen Pal program with the fourth graders. We parlayed that to our Cash Buddies program. So every third grader from Cash Elementary School will come through the Shepherd Center this year. And that's been amazing. Like the whole building just hums when they're there. And it's so exciting to see them as well as our older adults interacting together. While they're there, they're not just sitting around chit-chatting. They actually do a science project. We have an older adult, Dinesh, who is a retired engineer. And so he actually puts together science projects for them to do with their older adult buddy. And he does things about construction of bridges. They've built a robot. They've done a number of things, and they really seem to enjoy that. They also do arts. They create a bookmarker together. They color. They have a conversation. And then at the end of those two experiences, they sit down with their older adult buddy, and they interview them. The students interview them. They come with a list of questions. And it's really exciting. For many of them, they don't have grandparents or they don't interact with them on a regular basis. So there's a really unique opportunity for them to do that. And so we very rarely have to hunt for volunteers for this. It's something that they deeply enjoy, and so do the students. When the students return back to the classroom, they take the next couple days to create a report that they then share with the class about their older adult and what they learned from them. And so again, it's a really unique experience, and we look forward to growing that. So some of the partnerships that we've had many, but I just wanted to highlight a few that I think sometimes get passed over, because quite often we have healthcare agencies who come in and we partner with, but we really this year focused on partnering with our local agencies. As many of you know, with the Kernersville Parks and Rec new community building. Ernie Page has been a wonderful partner with us, and we sat down many times before it opened to kind of flesh out what we wanted to do. So this year, we're just kind of soft launching, seeing what's of interest, what's been successful. And so far, we have 3 programs going on. We have pickleball lessons, which we all know is a hot item around here and everywhere. We also offer something called Walk with Williams, and that is something they utilize inside the track. Several individuals get together, around 12 to 15, and walk the track every Thursday. They have t-shirts, they wear them out in the community. They're really proud of what they do. But I think what's most important is the relationships that they form. For a lot of these individuals, they're caregivers or have been caregivers. And so it's a unique opportunity for them to step away from their caregiving responsibilities, to engage with someone who has been a caregiver, and to really start forming relationships. Quite often when you're working with older adults, creating programming for men is difficult. So as you can see, is active program is actually run by Kevin back here. And so again, he came to us and said, I'd like to do this. And we said, sure. And we gave him the resources and support, and it's growing wildly. The other thing that we did is we partnered with the Kernersville Police Department. I know, shocking, but we partnered with them. We always say food is the great unifier. In this case, it's candy. Candy is the great unifier, and we stuff bags for the parades and for the activities that the Kernersville Police Department did. But we didn't just do that. What we did is we spent many days doing that, but with the police officers. They were there the entire time, and what you heard was, what's happening in the community? Is there anything I need to be aware of? Are there any scams happening? Have you heard anything about that? I have a neighbor who had this happen to her. What should I do? So it's a really great and unique opportunity to blend those two opportunities, because Debbie and I quite often talk about, well, we should hold more information about scams. Well, no one comes to them. However, what we hear often is when they're engaging with police officers in this setting, they're talking about how they've been scammed, or is this a scam? And so it's a very unique, organic opportunity for them to engage beyond just stuffing candy. And then we also partnered with Birdhouse Books, as you all know. Very rarely do we see independent bookstores, and so we were really excited to partner with them. They did an art project with us. They talked about their new store. We also have a book club. We're discussing ways to partner with them to help funnel some of that interest into their business as well. So. The other thing that we've launched is called Makers Mart. This is where we highlight adults 55 plus, makers, craftsmen, artisans, who share and sell their wares. We do this in our lobby. We don't charge them for it. We don't expect anything in return. And it's just a really great opportunity. There's a picture of the maker and what they're selling. We put it on Facebook and other social media. And the makers are making around $250 to $300 a month doing this. So it's just, each maker gets a month, and they can do whatever they want and sell whatever they want during that time. If you've ever visited us, we have a lot of little rooms. And so one of the little rooms that we have, we called it Room B. And Room B is right off of Room A. Imagine that. And Room A is where we do our taxes, right? So this year, actually, we're on track to provide over 900 tax appointments to individuals. But often while they're waiting for their taxes, they were sitting in this little small room with nothing in it except for some black chairs. And so we step back and we look for some opportunities to partner with some donors. And Neal Street Builders, as well as Amanda Work from the Chamber, came to us and offered to paint the room, pay for the furniture, and what we do, what's aligning the walls are resources. They're resources about food insecurity, about elder abuse, domestic violence, about how to home fit your home, any number of things that you can think about, end-of-life planning, so on and so forth. And so we offer resources in English as well as in Spanish for individuals. Often when someone comes to get their taxes done, it's not just them, it's them with their spouse, or it's an adult child like myself bringing their parent in. And so often they need those resources and maybe not know where to go or even know that they're available. So this has been a great opportunity for individuals to learn what we can offer, but also what the community is offering. One other thing I want to talk about that we are launching in spring of 2026. I know I'm here to talk about 2024, but I really want y'all to be aware of it. When I started in this role, I kind of went around and asked people, what are some services and supports that are not in our community that you feel like we need to be there around supporting older adults? And many people said respite programs for individuals with dementia or cognitive impairments. And so as someone who has a background in that, I went out to see what was new and improved in that service. And so in spring of 2026, we will be launching our group respite program. And this will provide an opportunity. We're going to start with 2 days a week from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be solely run by volunteers. We will hire a part-time respite director. And what's unique about this program is that when you go into it, you don't know who's a volunteer and who has dementia or a cognitive impairment. And as someone who's worked in the health field, quite often when you have an issue, that's how you're labeled. That's the lens that people see you through. And when you provide an opportunity for people who have cognitive impairment not to be seen through that lens, quite often they blossom. And so we're providing an opportunity, we're looking forward to providing an opportunity for those older adults to bring their loved ones who need some supports. That way they can get a break. They can go grocery shopping, they can take a nap, they can visit with friends, they can come to the senior center and take a class, maybe a cardio drumming class or yoga or Tai Chi. And so we're really excited about that. Look for that. We are looking for community partners at this time. Historically, it's been housed in faith-based organizations, and that is where we hope to house it in the future. So I believe that's like, yeah. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all very much, because most of you have come through and said hi to me and introduced yourself throughout this year. I know the mayor's come out and done a lunch with us, which was widely successful. And so if any of you would like to come and spend some time and talk to our seniors, we'd love to have you. Any opportunity to engage with y'all, they look forward to it. So thank you very much. And I'll take any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And let me say at this point, we appreciate all the work that you do through the Shepherd Center and the volunteers, and the same with Next Step Ministries. The work of both of these organizations is full of heart and touches lives in ways that are immeasurably important. So we appreciate everything that both Next Step Ministries and Shepherd's Center does for others in the community. Thank you so much for that. All right, number 4 on our agenda is Kernersville Little Theater.
Good evening, esteemed members, mayor, and board. I'm just going to read what I wrote because I can talk all night about KLT, but we don't want to be here all night. So this will be more short and succinct. Thank you for allowing an opportunity to speak with you today. I am Brian Albrecht. I'm the current president of the board of directors of the Kernersville Little Theater. I am here to share the impact that our organization has had on the Kernersville community through the arts and performances over the past year. Additionally, I'd like to highlight our first annual fundraiser, which was a tremendous success. Kernersville Little Theater has been a cornerstone of the arts in our community here in Kernersville since 1976. So yes, we're coming up on our 50th. We have been bringing people together to enjoy high-quality entertainment, foster local talent, and support community engagement. Over the past year, we've had the privilege of hosting a diverse range of productions that have enriched the cultural fabric of Kernersville. The production started in the spring of 2024 with Beauty and the Beast. Our spring production of Beauty and the Beast was a magical experience for audiences of all ages. The timeless story of love and acceptance resonated deeply within our community, and the vibrant set designs, costumes, and powerful performances brought this beloved tale to life. This production not only entertained, but also educated younger audiences about the beauty of storytelling through live theater. We moved into the summer of 2024 with Escape to Margaritaville. And in this, we put on not our normal stage, but we were actually partnered with the Paul J. Senior Botanical Gardens and used their lawn garden and gazebo as our stage. This fun, island-inspired musical featuring the music of Jimmy Buffett was a hit, providing a refreshing escape for the audience. The lively tunes and lighthearted story provided the perfect atmosphere for our community to come together and enjoy a joyful, stress-free night out. With the weather, it wasn't too stressful. It was kind of stressful for us at KLT. Miracle on 34th Street was our holiday presentation in 24, and that was a heartwarming way to close the year. It was a classic tale of belief, hope, and the magic of Christmas that touched the hearts of our patrons, making it a memorable event for families and individuals alike. The spirit of the season was brought to life on stage, creating cherished memories for all who attended. Murder on the Orient Express just departed the train station not too long ago, and we started the year off with that one. And it's a thrilling, suspenseful production that captivated audiences with its mystery, its dramatic flair, and intriguing plot twists, to say the least. It was a perfect way to engage our community in a challenging and thought-provoking performance. Now, the impact on our community that Kernersville Little Theater has had, we don't provide just entertainment. We've also fostered community engagement. Our theater has become a gathering place for people of all ages to come together. They share experiences, they connect with one another. Each show brings a diverse crowd, creating an inclusive space for our community. Nurturing local talent. We are proud to offer a platform for local actors, directors, designers, musicians, and the list goes on. Many of our cast members and crew members are from the Kernersville area, and through their involvement in our production, they have been able to showcase their talents and gain valuable experience. We've boosted the local economy. Each of our performances attracts audiences who often dine at local restaurants, shop in local businesses, and stay in local accommodations. The arts continue to play a role in supporting the local economy. We celebrated not only all of our successes with our theater, but we actually took on the additional fundraiser event, which was our first one at the beautiful Gardens again, and this was in the fall of 24. And this event was a tremendous success, and we received an overwhelming number of compliments from attendees. The fundraiser provided an opportunity for the community to support the theater in a unique setting while enjoying live music, light hors d'oeuvres and desserts, and a silent auction featuring a range of amazing local items. We raised vital funds that will help sustain and grow our programs, including providing scholarships for youth theater education, purchasing new equipment, and supporting future productions. The event also allowed us to engage our new patrons, foster stronger relationships within the community, and highlight the importance of the arts in Kernersville. We couldn't do what we do, we cannot do without our volunteers and without the funds. We also learned this year that the North Carolina Arts Council is not funding local small theaters, so we're desperately looking for fundage. So in conclusion, I'd like to summarize that Kernersville Little Theater has had a remarkable year, though, providing the community with performances that entertain, educate, and bring people together. From the enchanting Beauty and the Beast to the suspense of Murder on the Orient Express and a successful fundraiser that happened at our senior Botanical Gardens, we have shown how the arts can truly make a difference in the lives of those who participate and attend. We are deeply grateful for the ongoing support of the board, our community, and of all our patrons. With your continued support, we look forward to bringing even more inspiring performances and cultural events to Kernersville in the years to come. Thank you for your time and for your consideration, and if there are any questions, I'll try to field them. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We appreciate all of the actors, the backstage folks, which are as many or more as actors from any given production, and appreciate all the cultural opportunity you bring to the town of Kernersville. And so 2026 is also the 250th anniversary of the United States. So that's I wonder if the bicentennial had anything to do with the founding of the theater in 1976. Thank you for your presentations. Does any board member have questions of anybody at this time?
Madam Mayor, I have one word. Wow.
All right.
Wow. You can't listen to this and to the presentations we've heard earlier from Chris and the Chamber and other nonprofits that have already appeared before us. And you can't do that and not realize the importance of these organizations in making Kernersville a very special place to live. So thank you for all you do,
Thank
all
you.
of you.
And if you have other places you need to be, we will not be offended if you leave. But if you would like to see the infrastructure of when the rubber meets the road, the next item on our agenda is about roads and the presentation of the pavement condition survey.
Now I feel slighted. They don't want to hear.
Don't worry, they'll call us, Doran.
Madam Mayor, board members, every 3 to 5 years, we conduct what's called a pavement condition survey, which is an engineering company. We normally do it outside. I think maybe 15 years ago, we actually did it once internally, but it's normally best to send that to an outside company, as we did this year, previous year. But that pavement condition survey gives an idea of the condition of our streets. But in general, that's basically all it is. So this year we did something a little different. We had a separate company do the pavement condition survey itself back in, the fall of last year. But then we also turned it over to another company which did a financial model of our streets. It gives the value of our assets, the ongoing and future maintenance costs of those assets. And tonight I have someone here with Withers Ravenel Engineering who will present the financial model of that. This is Eddie Staley with Withers Ravenel. His title's actually about that long, so I won't say it, but for the records, let's just call him the Director of Asset Management. Eddie?
Thanks a lot, Doran. I'm certainly glad to be with you tonight, and I hope you find this gives you some insight into how asset management works, how you can get the highest return on any investment that you're making on your infrastructure, and understand the value of that infrastructure as well. Next slide, please. And forgive me, the pollen is about to kill me, so I apologize. When we talk about asset management, really the goal of asset management is to really get the longest life, the highest level of service for the least amount of investment. It's really about making your investments go as far as possible and have the greatest impact on the citizens that you serve. It is a thank you very much. Thank you. In asset management, there actually is a standard called ISO 55000. It's an international standard that we use to basically measure sustainability and the overall funding of asset management and infrastructure. As Doran mentioned, you completed an engineering survey of your pavement. That is done in a standard methodology. So the really nice thing about that is you're able to benchmark yourself against other communities. And so I think that's really important. So no matter where you go, any street that is an 80 in Kernersville is going to look exactly the same as any other street in any other town. The other thing that, as Doran mentioned, on the life cycle modeling, what we're trying to do is look at the future degradation and the future state of that asset. And so each one of these street segments are being degraded over time, and we're predicting what that future state is going to be, what investments are going to be required, where do we prioritize investment, what is the impact of that investment, and what is the final level of service state that we will achieve with that maintenance. The other things that happen here in this, these are things that Doran and his staff are doing every day as they move forward, is working with contractors, getting the work actually completed, and actually seeing the results. Next slide. So how do you benchmark against other communities? Well, first thing I will tell you, I'm actually very happy to be able to share these scores with you. Sometimes when I'm standing in front of a council, these numbers are not that good. And so again, great story to tell here in Kernersville. Your score is an 80 in the Institute of Transportation Research and Education scoring methodology. Now, for a pavement expert, an 80 actually means something. I would also say for most other people, it means absolutely nothing at all. So I want to show a different way that we kind of talk about scores. But again, when you compare yourself to Town of Cary network scores an 82, Morrisville an 85, Sanford a 73, High Point a 66. But again, anywhere in that low to mid 80s is really the optimal place to be able to manage and maintain your street network over time. Next slide, please. So this may be a little bit difficult to read, but this is actually straight from the dashboard. So one of the great things that your staff has now is this executive dashboard, and these are some of the graphics, infographics that come from it. A couple of things I want to point out. Again, this is what a typical 80 street looks like. More importantly, what it drives like. When you're riding down the road, you're getting a great experience. You're not hitting potholes. You're not feeling cracks in the street. It is, again, the optimal place to be able to maintain that street. A couple of things to point out here, though. If we look at your 2025 investment strategy, I believe, Doran, right now, budget is around $1.5 million, somewhere in that range. If you do that, one of the things we talk about is consumption rate. If you make that $1.5 million investment this year, your assets are actually going to decrease by about 1.62. So what that's basically telling you is that your investment is not keeping up with the actual degradation of the asset. And by the way, this asset that we're talking about, the current depreciated or degraded value of that asset, all of your municipally owned streets, is about a $72 to $73 million asset. This is a tremendous asset back to the town, and obviously something that greatly affects the level of service and the citizen experience. We also ran a couple other different models at a funding of $2 million, of $2.5 million. And at $2.5 million, what you'll actually notice is that is about a $305,000 consumption gain, meaning that you've actually put it back. That investment puts it back better and more investment for that future where it's going to degrade less. The other thing that you'll notice there is that your score actually goes up to about an 82.1 next year with that investment. One of the things that one of my coworkers says all the time is, are we putting things back better than we found them? At $2.5 million with current cost of construction, that at $2.5 million, you're actually putting it back better than it is today. Next slide. The other thing that we're able to do is actually stretch this out over a 10-year strategy. Again, these are long-lived assets. We don't need to just be looking at year over year. We need to be looking 10 years out. What is it that we can do today to have a greatest impact long range? One of the things I like to say here, and we'll show this on the next slide too, the infographics are fantastic. Green is good, red is bad. So again, very quick and easy ways to be able to consume this information. One of the things to note today, if I look at your current distribution across the categories of very good, good, fair, poor, and very poor, you have about 50 lane miles of poor to very poor streets today. Underneath this strategy here of the 1.5 million, you actually end up with about 29 lane miles of poor, but no very poor streets. That is actually really important, and I'll talk about why in just a few moments. At $2.5 million, you do not have any poor streets at all, only fair, good, and very good. So again, it is all about level of service. What is the right level of service for the town of Kernersville? What is the right citizen experience that you're looking for? That's going to help you better understand what that investment strategy needs to look like. So one of the things I hope that you're getting from this is that this is giving a lot of transparency back to the decisions that you have to make. We're always having to make very difficult financial decisions about where we make investments. And one of the great things about the model itself is it's giving an operational plan back to the staff. Which streets should be prioritized? Where are you going to get the highest return on investment for the dollars that we have available? So when staff is coming in and saying, these are the streets we're going to pave, this model is sitting here and running tens of thousands of combinations of projects, understanding where is that highest return on investment, when is the optimal time to do the work, make that investment to get the greatest value out of that investment. Next slide. So again, on that $1.5 million, today your streets are at about an 80. Again, green is good, red is bad, orange is not so great. This is what you look like in the future. You're down to about a 72 is where you're predicted to be at $1.5 million. You notice the number of very good and good streets has decreased, a good number in that fair category and in some in that poor category. You've actually improved in that poor and very poor, but you've also lost ground on the very good and good. By the way, when you look at construction of a new street, that is somewhere around about $1 million to $1.5 million per lane mile. So an average street is about a $2 to $3 million investment when you look at it by a mile. So one of the things to keep in mind as new development happens, I know Kernersville is growing and you're adopting new streets, that also gets added into the model. That investment that's being made and basically given back over to the town to maintain, that is a future liability that you're going to have to continue to maintain those streets over time. That is something else that goes into the model. Next slide. At $2.5 million, notice what happens here. Again, we're up to about a 78. So again, you're basically about maintaining where you are today. Again, that is the optimal place where you can actually get the greatest value out of your dollar. And again, you're going to have that similar experience. In these models, we can also include inflation. In this one, I did not include inflation, but that is an important thing to keep in mind. If prices continue, as they generally do, continue to get greater, that is something that we need to continue to put into the model to better predict that 10-year picture. Next slide. In this slide here, I want to point out a couple of things that I've highlighted those in a kind of a surround box. But if that $1.5 million over this 10-year strategy, you're going to treat about 73 centerline miles of streets. And the cost of that per centerline mile treated is about $20,289. Now, if I come over to that 2.5 over on the far right-hand side, oh, and by the way, you're going to end up with a 72 PCI score, which is about 8 points lower than where you are today. When I look at that $2.5 million investment, I'm up to a 78. I don't have any poor streets at all, fair, good, and very good only. But with that $1 million extra investment year over year, I'm now treating twice as many centerline miles, and I'm doing it for about 19% less. This is actually where you get your highest return on investment. If the goal is to ultimately get the highest level of service for the least amount of investment per centerline mile, that is actually where it happens. Next slide. One of the last things I want to show here is the cost of deferring. So one of the things that happens, and this is why this model is really nice, because again, to try to run this and calculate this in a spreadsheet or something else is really almost impossible. It really is just not capable of being able to do this. It's a lot of data that drives into this model. It's ultimately a digital twin of your system. But what this is showing is that cost of deferment. By not doing the right types of work at the right time because of lack of funding, what ends up happening is that street goes through different stages of treatments that can actually be applied. So I'm going to put this into kind of maybe the way you would think about it with your own home. If you have a wood deck off the back of your house, maybe you enjoy that time out there. It is being exposed to the weather. We know if we put water seal on that, that's going to extend the life of the deck. It's going to protect that surface. That's what that pavement is. It's ultimately a wear course for the traffic. By doing that treatment, that small investment, in this case, that's generally like a rejuvenator or some type of slurry seal, the cost of that could be somewhere as low as $1.20 per square yard, maybe $7 per square yard. Keeping good roads good, making those investments at the right time is where we get the longest life out of that asset for the least amount of investment. If I do not make those investments, that street continues to degrade and we start to see cracks, we start to see other defects in that street, and that puts us into a mill and overlay category. That's about $30 per square yard. So preventing anything from ever really getting into that area, which is that orange, that poor area, that is really the ultimate goal. And again, why would we let something go there? It generally comes from an underfunding situation. If I continue to let it degrade, it gets down into reconstruction. Ultimately, at that point, the cracks have allowed weather, the water, other things to get in, degrade the subgrade. And so now if I go back to that deck analogy, we're not just replacing the decking, I'm now having to replace the foundation of that deck as well. So again, think about street maintenance much the same way as you would with any other asset. When is the right time to make that investment? Where do I get that highest return on investment? In this case here, with that $1.5 million annual investment over the next 10 years, there's actually about $3.9 million worth of assets or treatments that are deferred that ultimately are going to cost, in the long run, about $3.9 million more to be able to get the same outcome. Think about it as almost like carrying debt on your credit card. That is that accrued interest that is happening by deferring that payment, not making that payment or that investment at that right time on the asphalt. Last slide here. So a couple of closing thoughts and things I'd like for you to take away. One, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to be able to really take a look at some detailed information. The complexity of actually managing your pavement system, I think, is a great time to celebrate how good of a job you're doing today, but also look at how our decisions that we make, the investments that we make, what are those expected outcomes going to be, and what is the right level of service for the town of Kernersville and for its citizens. The other thing to look at is how do we integrate this in with other decisions that we're making? For instance, the water and the sewer lines that may be replaced, or telecom that may be replaced that is going underneath asphalt, stormwater. How do we integrate all these projects together to do all of that right work at the right time? In the case of water and sewer, I think that's owned by a different entity. So how do you better coordinate with other entities that may need to basically cut open pavement to manage those? The other thing is, hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight and some transparency into the data-driven experience that happens inside of this digital twin. Again, it really provides operational knowledge for staff to be able to come to you with recommendations and be able to hopefully explain what your decisions, what your funding decisions are going to be, and what those impacts and outcomes are going to be. The last thing that I will say here is, again, this is a great time to set some goals. What is the right level of service for Kernersville? How do we manage to those goals? How do we adjust and pivot when financial situation changes maybe some of those outcomes? The biggest thing is this is just a really good way to be able to see long-range planning and the decisions that we make today, how that affects us many, many years down the road. I have some other additional slides if we have some questions, if you'd like to take a deeper dive. I will say here too as well, not that you're going to be able to see this, but literally that dashboard is actually here and available right here on my phone. So Doran has access to this information at all times. Same thing with your staff. And so if you come to him with questions about when is this street projected to be paved, what is the outcome if we pave this one instead of this one, if we make this decision, those kind of answers can be answered very quickly back off the model itself and understand what those outcomes are. So with that, I'll close out and entertain any questions you have, and hopefully this has been very informative for you.
Are there any questions?
With your analysis and whatnot, are you offering a recommendation for us to, consider, or what's the end game here?
So I don't know if it's my place to make a recommendation. I'm just here to deliver information, right? But what I will tell you is what the data shows us is if you want to maintain where you are today, if you want the experience 10 years from now to be basically what it is today with your pavement, that investment number probably needs to be an annualized about $2.5 million a year. That is what the data bears out.
And that's about $1 million more than we're doing, is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. That also is, again, where you're getting the greatest value for every dollar that you are investing.
How do, I guess, growth, estimated growth that's taking place here in Kernersville, how is that figured into those numbers that you're presenting?
Yes, so again, let's say that you were to adopt 1 more mile of street through development. Again, that's going to immediately give you a little bit of an increase in your overall network score, but it's also going to add to the investment strategy long term, because that brand new street, generally speaking, if you're getting typically speaking, if you're brand new street within a couple of years, you probably want to do some type of rejuvenator, sort of that sealant that goes on there to protect that, to extend life. And then ultimately that's going to continue to go through its life cycle, and there's going to be a needed investment for that street over the next 10 years. Yes, go ahead.
I was also thinking about, more traffic that's coming into Kernersville, so it's more wear and tear on our roads. How does that play into the
Yeah, so the average daily traffic counts do go into the degradation curve. However, it is worth noting residential traffic, vehicle traffic, standard car traffic has wear and tear on that street, but really where the most, it's the heavy loads like large trucks, other things like that that really start to cause degradation through loading. not as much just regular traffic.
Thank you.
You know, it also seems to me that this plays directly into decisions we're in the process of making or going to make going forward about the extent to which we require developer preparation of streets and highways that are going to benefit their particular development. And you know, those dollars stretch a whole lot more when some of them are not ours. At the same time, the developers are going to be the ones that are going to be making the profit on the enhanced value of those subdivisions. So it seems to me that I'd love to hear whether you think that that has a bearing on our policy decisions related to developer sharing of these costs.
Again, that's a policy decision that I think is a fair one to take a look at. I know there are many communities that we work with that we look at impacts to streets, to municipal services like fire, police. Again, for every citizen that's added through development, you know, that's putting additional burden back on municipal services. And so is there some sort of cost sharing that goes into that? That's certainly a policy decision. I know some towns that do that, some that do not. When it comes to the streets themselves that are built by the developer, can't speak to this because I haven't looked at it, but the standards that you have, making sure that those streets are built to the right standards that are going to basically ensure the longest life from that asset, that we're getting quality work, quality construction when that's adopted. That also plays directly into it. Warren, you can probably speak to that a bit.
I think I can more directly answer that question. Our current street standards are fairly strong, so I'm not so worried about that. Like Eddie said, it's not necessarily residential traffic, it's the heavy axle loads that cause the damage. So our current street section is adequate, or more than adequate for, and with that, developers pay 100% of that cost. So we don't get involved with financial assistance to developers currently. So they are paying the price up front, which Eddie did mention that the benefit to us is we get a road out of it, but then there's a long-term cost, 10, 15 years. Typically, an average surface course lasts around 15 years. And even before that, that's when you repave it. But before that, you got rejuvenators, crack sealing, and other things that we have to do to keep it maintained. So even a new street comes with immediate operational cost.
I think we don't need to be bashful about asking that developers pay that share.
We're not.
I'm not.
Doran, does your number for the road maintenance include an allocation for things like culverts?
Some of it does, and some of it comes under stormwater. It just depends on the application we're talking about. Typical, your standard 18-inch pipes under the streets, those kind of maintenance dollars are included in our operational budget for streets. If it's larger items that may include stormwater retention areas and things like that, that's all budgeted under stormwater.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Eddie, we appreciate your research and your report.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
That's a lot to absorb. I have to compliment this board, and Doran has stepped out, but and Curtis for one of the first meetings after everyone was sworn in 2 terms ago was the pavement condition report. I think it was presented around midnight. It was a long meeting. And the funding that has been done over the past few years in the budget has made a huge difference in our pavement condition rating. I really don't think we would be at an 80 if we hadn't taken those bold steps over the past 3 budgets to get to where we are. So I think that's a nice recognition from outside a town department of the impact that funding and that making the infrastructure of our community, our roads, a priority has resulted in a good result. So I appreciate everybody's work. You know, it takes a while to see the results of some of these votes and actions that we take, but that was definitely good decisions made to get us to where we are today. All right. Do you have anything further on that, Curtis? Okay, we will move on then to item D, consideration of an ordinance amending traffic schedule 2 of chapter 9 of the Town of Kernersville Code of Ordinances by adding a portion of Teague Lane to the schedule 35-mile-per-hour speed zone and adding a portion of Teague Lane to the schedule 25-mile-per-hour school speed zone. Mr. Curtis, if you could explain this to us and make your recommendation.
Yeah, this goes back to when the individuals with the neighborhood there off Teague Lane, Salem Crossing, they came to the board probably 3 months ago, I believe, asking for some help with no parking as you turn into their neighborhood off Teague Lane. And then they also asked the board to possibly lower the speed limit. That is a DOT road, so DOT has to concur with lowering the speed limit. So we did send a resolution, actually it may have just been a letter to DOT asking them to consider lowering the speed limit on a portion of Teague Lane, and then to also set a speed limit for the school zone lower than what is currently there, as well as put up some flashing lights indicating that the school zone, that you're approaching the school zone. We heard back from DOT and they have agreed to do that. That's the first time they've agreed to do it in that area, but they did agree to do that. They have agreed to lower the speed limit from 45 to 35 in the section from Ogden School Road north to Old Salem Road. And they've agreed to lower it from, I think, 35 to 25, a 0.31 miles south of Old Salem Road, just past Caleb's Creek Elementary. So it'll be maybe 0.2 of a mile past Caleb's Creek Elementary. They'll lower the speed limit from Old Salem Road to that point during school, not during school hours, but during a time, I think 30 minutes before school starts and 30 minutes after it ends each day. They will lower that to 25 miles per hour. So it'll be 35 all of the time from Ogden School north to Old Salem, and then in that one section it will be 25. They have also agreed to enter into an agreement with the town to provide design overview and encroachment to allow the town to install, maintain, and repair some flashing speed zone signs. We haven't started that process yet. We will not begin that unless the board approves this. If it's approved, then we'll get with them to kind of see the cost of that and see what all is involved in that.
Joe and Chris may remember that the town requested a while back, these speed limits in that area be dropped, and the DOT declined to do that request. So this is, I think, really good news that this is available.
And I think it's kind of really what prompted it, obviously, was you all asking again, and the future growth in that area. I think we've seen some significant growth there since the last time the board asked. And a lot of the traffic pattern is going up to Old Salem Road now. So it goes by Caleb's Creek. So I think that helped, as well as you all asking again, and the neighbors in the area as well asking again.
All right, so what do you need?
I just need a motion to approve or deny the ordinance you have before you, the resolution.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Alderman Apple, second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you for staying on that, Curtis. Thank you very much.
Thank you for clarifying the action you needed. My screen had gone to sleep, so I couldn't immediately tell. I appreciate it, Curtis.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, we're waking everything up again. All right. So we are to the consideration of a proposal for financial auditing services. Mr. Swisher.
You have in your packet a memo from Franz Ader, our finance director, to me regarding audits. For the last many years, we've used Forbes. I think before they became Forbes, they were maybe Dixon Odom, something like that. But they're now Forbes. We've used them up until this year. We put it out, request for bids to get proposals in and bids. And as you can see in your packet, we received 7 bids back from different companies. Oddly enough, Forbes is one of the companies that bid on it. After they told us they didn't want to do our business anymore, they turned around and bid on our proposal. But as you can also see, they're the highest. So we will not be selecting them unless you all just want to hear them come up here and talk again. If you like that guy, we'll bring him back. If not, we're recommending Thompson Price Scott Adams and Company. Their proposal for the period of 3 years is $202,000. If you approve that tonight, it will be for the 3-year period, but you are required state statute to approve it again every single year. So they would start for fiscal year 2024 through 2025. So they would be coming in and doing our audit beginning at the end of this fiscal year. So we're recommending them. They were pretty close in price to Malden and Jenkins. We think that Thompson Price can do the same job, if not better. They're a little bit larger firm than Thompson Price. They also do work in Yadkin County as well. So our town attorney is familiar with them, and he said they've had good success with them there. So that is who we're recommending. And again, if you select them tonight, you'll get to select them again here in the next few months to approve their 1-year contract.
So have they done work for the town in the past?
They have not, no ma'am. The only 2 that I recall are Forbes, who again was, I think, Dixon Hughes before that, and maybe Bernard Robinson. I can't remember who it was before that, but we used somebody in 2008 and 9. That did not go as well as we had hoped. And so then we switched to Dixon. It was Dixon Hughes Odom, I think, at the time. And then they became Forbes.
I think I would add the decision to choose that auditor was not a recommendation made by you, so.
It was not. That was before my time. And
It was. So, and you have confidence that that this firm would not have some of the delay, the issues we had before were severe, so.
I don't know that you'll get completely around any of the issues. You know, Forbes, we had our own issues with Forbes. Sometimes they did not get it done on time, different things. You know, I can't promise that, but, you know, we didn't see in any of the towns, the municipalities they do work for where that's been an issue. So, you know, right now we don't foresee any problems, but ultimately there'll probably be a few crop up that we'll just have to deal with.
And I wasn't speaking of Forbes, I was speaking of that other company that you,
the
the 08, 09 experience.
Yeah, I don't foresee any that we had with them either, but again, going with a new company, you just never know until you try it and see.
So I think they ended up charging us a lot more than the original proposal had been.
They ended up trying to charge us a lot more. We ended up refusing to pay them a lot more.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't bid on this one too, which is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Curtis,
I agree with you.
Where are they located?
I'm not sure. Hold on. Where? Lumberton. I was going to say that, but I was not 100% sure. So they're in Lumberton.
Well, a lot of the bids are pretty similar.
They are. And we've got a whole spreadsheet. Finance does where they rank these and rated them. Time for completion, number of employees, and things like that. And all of these were in line with the time for completion, number of hours, things like that needed to do it. So we feel confident with them that they will be able to provide the service we need.
Okay, any other questions, or do I have a motion? Okay, a motion to approve Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams and Company, PA.
Second.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson, a second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, Franz, for your work on this, and Mr. Swisher for your work as well. All right, we are to a discussion of the Kernersville Capital Improvement Plan and a consideration of a resolution adopting the Town of Kernersville Capital Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2026 through 2029, 2030.
Yes, ma'am. It is a 5-year plan, as I've told this board before. You've now sat through probably 4 of these. We are required every year to adopt this plan. I will not bore you with the details of this plan unless you would like for me to bore you with the details of it. But it would take about 4 hours worth of boredom, but I will be glad to do so. But otherwise, I'll just tell you the highlights of it. It covers all of the capital equipment, infrastructure projects, things like that for this 5-year period. And you will see them outlined and put into a year. And that is the best case scenario. If everything goes right, money comes in right, really probably in this case, money comes in more than what we anticipate, we'll do that project or buy that piece of equipment in that year. As you all have seen in the past, that's not likely to happen. Some things get pushed off a year. Some things do get moved up and get purchased ahead of time for whatever reason. If we get some grants for a particular project, things like that, if we have a piece of equipment break that we plan to buy it in 2028 and it breaks now, we'll replace it now. But this is simply a plan. We do try to follow the plan. Again, that plan is highly dependent upon funding and what we see in the terms of revenue each year. That's all I will cover. I'll be glad if you've got a specific question about any particular piece of equipment, item, or anything like that. I'll be glad to cover it. What? And Ed just told me that he misstated that the auditor is in Whiteville, not Lumberton. And again, on the CIP, approving it tonight with this draft, again, does not hold you, it does not bind you to any particular project or piece of equipment or anything in that year.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Gorham. Second by Alderman Penix. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, Curtis, we are to the consideration of the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant application.
This application is, the town, let me back up and start over. The town was, I think, supposedly awarded $2.4 million.
2.42 million.
2.42 million about 3 or 4 years ago through Representative Kathy Manning's office for phase 2 of the Ivy Redmond. It's the stream restoration behind Ivy Redmond sports complex that runs down through there. We did phase 1. They're now doing, actually this is probably phase 3, but they're now doing some phase of that. It was $2.42 million. We've not received the money yet, and they told us that we have to do a waiver that would eliminate the need for the match. Because initially there was not a match, now there is a match of about $600,000, mainly because the project, instead of being $2.4 million, is now $3 million. So we're on the hook for the extra $600,000. So we can pursue a grant for that extra and get the funding for that. I will tell you, that is my recommendation, if you all approve this grant, to give staff some flexibility in whether or not to apply for it or to move forward with it. And I say that because this is a federal grant, not a state grant. We have to put the $2.42 million, now $3 million, we have to pay it up front and we get reimbursed. So if we go in and start that project and we pay $3 million, for the stream restoration project, and then either A, the money gets cut, which we've all seen cuts at the federal government level, or B, the whole department gets cut, we're on the hook for the $3 million. In my opinion, we would not do this project unless we had a grant. I think Dorn would probably concur with that. It's a stream kind of in the middle of the woods. We've got the main part of it behind the neighborhood. So I'm fine with you all approving us to move forward with the grant if we see it plausible. But I do not want, unless y'all tell me, and then I'm going to give y'all the caveat of saying, okay, y'all the ones that done it. I don't want y'all to put the town, I don't want to be put on the hook for going out and spending $3 million without you all knowing up front, if this grant does not come in, that $3 million is coming out of the town coffers. And I will tell you, further go along with that, the representative that got us the grant is no longer in office. So we can't call her up and say, where's our funding? She's going to say, I really don't care where your funding is at. I'm no longer there. So just a word of caution with this grant. I don't think the board wants to be on the hook for $3 million for a stream restoration project. And staff certainly doesn't unless you all make it clear that y'all want to be on the hook for $3 million for that.
Then, Curtis, how should we word this so that we provide you and the staff the flexibility that you need to go forward with this, but at the same time approve it? You know?
I think a suggestion would be, and Dorn, tell me if I'm wrong, but approval of the grant pending confirmation from town staff that we will receive reimbursement in full. Does that work?
If you could come forward, Dorrance, so everyone can hear you.
Because I don't know how long it really takes to know if we'll receive reimbursement. Don't know if you know.
The thing about this is it's not a project that's very visible to the community in the same way that a Parks and Recreation Center is, but it's also not just for Kernersville. It's more of a regional impact on water quality. And so, I mean, I could see there still being funding for a water quality project that has a regional impact.
I think there is right now. I don't know if there will be down the road.
I completely agree with your analysis, though, of not binding the board to it, but wouldn't that be by putting the grant in the budget and then taking the steps to accept the grant that would still, I mean, is there any downside to still pursuing the grant since we were already awarded it?
Well, there's a couple. Let me back up a second. What we're asking for tonight is this permission to proceed, unless you disagree with me, because we don't have to accept anything. We've not gotten to that stage yet. So once the acceptance takes place and we sign a contract, that's where we have to be careful. But this just gives us the right to proceed with requesting a waiver of that match. Before, there was no match requirement. As Curtis mentioned, it got added. So we would have to pay $605, I think it is, out of our own pocket. This allows us to apply for a waiver. And if we then receive the waiver, still doesn't mean we're going to proceed. So we got, I think, a couple more steps before we get to what Curtis was talking about. But I totally agree with what he's saying. This money is different than all of our other projects in the fact that it's straight reimbursement from the federal government. Before, our grants were either most of them were pass-through money from federal government, which was turned over to a state agency, and we got reimbursed from them. And I totally agree, there's no guarantee right now that we would get reimbursed for anything. Back to your question about budgeting, we do not have this, we have a stormwater reserve account. There's not this kind of money in it. So the Stormwater Enterprise Fund does not have enough money to back a project of this size. So
I think I asked my question not in a clear way. Would your recommendation be to go ahead and approve this request, or in our discussion today, should we tell you to make some efforts, but we're not necessarily binding the town? Or I heard Curtis in his presentation a little bit both ways, like we should just say, at this point, we're not going to move forward at all, or we should move forward with flexibility. So which is it?
I think we should move forward with flexibility. This step here gives us the opportunity to apply to eliminate the match. And then we'll have to see what goes from there. They haven't presented us with any kind of contract documentation, or the agency handling knows nothing about it.
So Dory,
We're struggling every day.
and I think what the mayor hit on, move forward with flexibility, and I probably did. I got about one step ahead of myself. This is to ask for the match. If we don't get the match, then we can come back to you and say, hey, we don't even have the match. Do you want to put up 600,000?
Let me ask you a question. If we approve this tonight, and y'all go do whatever y'all want to do, before you take a next step and put us on the hook, do you have to come back to the Board of Aldermen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is it's not, and the reason why it ought to be funded with a grant and not through the just some town of Kernersville regular operating budget or stormwater enterprise is it is a regional project. It is not completely a Kernersville benefiting project or a Kernersville project. And that's why I think we were awarded the grant in the first place.
Yes.
So voting for this tonight does not commit us to anything, right?
No.
Correct.
Okay.
I'd make a motion at this time to accept, to go ahead and allow them to do the North Carolina Land and Water Fund grant application. As stated.
Yeah, the motion, a second, all in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
We just don't want to get dodged into a financially irresponsible position, do we?
I agree 100%. And I don't want to be the one to put you there.
Well, it's a difficulty because, as Doran related, the grants prior to that had been through funding that went to the state, and then from the state to the locality. And so it just happened that at that point in time, it was a different process, and now the process has changed again. So just appreciate the efforts of your stormwater team to navigate through all of this. And I think maybe the work that is being done right now was going to be done in connection with this or after this bigger project.
Yeah, it was just being done in order it was initially supposed to be.
Okay. And sometimes when you do one project, that provides the match against a bigger project. And so there's just a lot of intricacies to all of this.
This one there is, yeah. Biggest one is nobody really knows what it's about. But we'll find out.
What shall we do next? Should we move on to item H? Mr. Swisher.
Item H is, as you all are aware, the town bought some land, traded some land, whatnot down on Teague Lane several years ago. And it's about 7 acres. Initially, we were looking at it for a fire station. As you all are aware, we went in with Beeson's Crossroads and renovated that station, and we're now in theirs. So 7 acres there's not as big a need for that really from the town's perspective. There's probably no need for that. So I was contacted by a developer a couple months ago that was interested in purchasing the land. I told the developer, the process that we use for that. We've gotten the land appraised. The land has appraised at $350,000, and the developer has offered to pay $350,000 for that. If the town agrees tonight, if the town votes to sell it, it will be put up for 10 days for an upset bid. If no upset bids come in, bring it back to this board for final confirmation. I believe, does it come back for final confirmation?
Yes, the board still has to vote to accept the offer.
Yep. So that's where we're at tonight. You vote to accept the offer of $350 or vote not to accept the offer of $350. If you vote to accept it, we'll advertise it. We have to publicly advertise it and allow for upset bids. There might be some upset bids, there might not be, but that's one of the ways that the town is allowed by general statute to sell property. my recommendation, knowing that right now we don't need the property, can't really foresee in the future that we would need it, is to go ahead and sell it while there's development occurring out there, and it's bringing pretty good price. It's roughly $50,000 an acre. That's a little more than what property south of there on the southwest of there just brought. This part, like I say, it's 7 acres. There's about an acre maybe of it, acre and a quarter, a little bit in a floodplain, but the rest of it is pretty good property.
And the prior ownership history was because we did a land swap.
Yes, ma'am. We own, as you will remember, we bought the property initially as you come off of Hedgecock Road into Tig Lane. We bought a house and roughly 4.5 or 5 acres right there. And then BOMA needed that property for a roundabout. And so I don't know what they'd have done had we already built a fire station there, but neither here nor there, we didn't. So we offered to trade them. At the time, we would not sell our 5 acres because we might still need land for a fire station. But they had to have something. They had to have that land for roundabout. So they traded us this property at the time.
Just wanted to clarify that because of the listing of the ownership history. This
Yes.
wasn't a donation by BOMA to the town.
No, it was not. It was a trade.
A trade.
Yes, ma'am.
And really a trade that was an ideal location for a fire station for us for a piece of property that was nearby, but with the recognition we were trying to help them to line their roads up properly.
Correct.
Madam Mayor, given all that, I'd move that we approve the recommendation as to the declaration of property as surplus according to the.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Apple, a second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. And then we are to item I, consideration of resolutions declaring property surplus and authorizing disposal.
You have 3 resolutions. One of those is declaring some property surplus that we will dispose of by auction. You have that listing in your packet there that, it's everything from a postage machine to vehicles. We generally do those a couple times a year. The second surplus is we're declaring some radios in the fire department surplus and selling some of those to Piney Grove, and then we're selling some others to Beeson's Crossroads.
Should we vote on them separately so that they have different resolution numbers?
You can, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we do the surplus sales. I think we've done it. Every one of you's been on the board. We've sold some radios, some other equipment to different fire stations over the years. So those 2 are in there. You have the listing of what we will be selling to each fire station, as well as the listing of items that we'll be selling through auction.
Okay, are there any questions of our town manager?
Move we approve
Wait a
the
minute.
resolution.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, forgive me.
Or of our fire department?
I got you.
Before we, any questions? Okay. First, I need a motion to declare property surplus and authorize disposal, and this is the list of items for different departments. I'll take your motion, Mr. Apple.
So moved, thank you.
Okay, do I have a second? Got a second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. Mr. Swisher, or Mr. Hooker, have you got that one?
Yes.
Okay. The second one is the declare surplus and sell portable radios to Piney Grove Volunteer Fire Rescue. Do I have a motion to do so? Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson.
Second.
Second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, Mr. Hooker, you ready for the next? Okay. The next is to declare surplus radios and sell to Beeson Crossroads Volunteer Fire Rescue.
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Gorham.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, that brings us to J, budget amendment. Unless you have anything else to sell, Curtis.
No, not right now.
Okay.
We got a house we gotta bring in a month or two to sell, but not right now.
All right.
Item J is the budget amendment number 7 for this fiscal year. There's some expenditures, decreased, increased. The main thing on the budget amendment is in the fire department. We're carrying forward, we didn't do it at the beginning of the year, number 1, but we're carrying forward $55,000 in funds to restore the fire truck. As you all are aware, we have the fire truck out. It's being restored. It's looking good. I saw some pictures of it the other day. So we need to carry those funds forward, $55,000, carry it forward, and then $34,000 as well to complete the restoration of that. We're hoping to get it in, is it this year or next year? This year. So it does look good. We've, like I say, I've seen some pictures of it. It's on Facebook. Is it 1923 fire truck, something like that, a Facebook page? Okay, what's the Facebook
What's the
page?
name of the Facebook page?
It's something like 1923 fire truck restoration, but you can go on there and see it
And I didn't catch when you said it might be
this year.
back
This year, we hope
this
by the end
fiscal
of the
year? Or this calendar year?
This calendar year.
Okay. Curtis, if you could repeat that, please.
Kernersville Fire Department 1923 fire truck restoration page, something like that.
Did he say it right? Why don't you come up to the microphone and just say it for us? It's a long title. So.
That's close.
For all the people watching on YouTube tonight who want to go on Facebook, see some heartwarming stories about our long-awaited restoration project.
All right, so that page is Kernersville Fire Department 1923 fire truck restoration page.
That was close.
Thank you.
Lift up the fire department. So that's the main part of the budget amendments on there. Be glad to answer any questions that.
Are there any
you may.
questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I have a motion.
A motion by Alderman Barrow.
Second.
Is the motion to approve, Mr. Barrow?
Do what?
You said you had a motion. I didn't let you finish your sentence.
I have a motion to adopt the budget amendment,
Okay.
number 7.
Got a motion to adopt it by Alderman Barrow, second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we are to the consent agenda. I know this is everybody's absolute favorite part of the meeting. Mr. Sin, it'll become your favorite part as well. All of these matters are considered to be routine by the Board of Aldermen and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item. Basically, if everybody is happy with these, we just approve them as a group. If you have a concern about one of them, you can request for it to be removed. All right, so A is approval of minutes for February 26, 2025 closed session. The reason why those are not online is because they are closed session, which is approved by law to be confidential. Item B, approval of minutes for February 26 regular meeting, which you can see there's a clickable link to see those. Approval of minutes. Item C is approval of minutes for the March 4th regular meeting. D is consideration of a resolution declaring the badge and service weapon of Gregory Hyatt as surplus and authorizing disposal. And while this looks like it's a resolution declaring a service weapon of a police officer as surplus and authorizing disposal, this is the mechanism local government has to do to present the badge and service weapon to an officer upon his retirement. And Officer Hyatt has served the town for at least 26 years, I believe. Is that right? 26 years, and so that's a nice recognition that he can take his badge and service weapon with him. And we do that traditionally for retirees. E is for Scythe County tax refund. F is consideration of a technical correction to site plan adopted with rezoning ordinance O-2024-11 to correct site acreages and area within right-of-way. Is there anything, any citizen or staff member here would like to see removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any of these items a board member would like to see removed from the consent agenda and discussed and voted on separately? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the entirety of the consent agenda?
So moved.
I've got a motion by Alderman Penix and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we are to the town manager's report.
Madam Mayor, unfortunately, I have something to present to you that I say unfortunately because it's a little bit not necessarily great news and probably not good news if it passes, but you all have in front of you 4 bills that were introduced in the Senate last Tuesday through Friday. And you have a letter that we've drafted and a resolution opposing these bills. And I'll briefly kind of cover what these bills are. They all have to do really with land use, not specifically, but primarily with residential zoning and what you all have thought how residential zoning goes versus how it will go in the future if these bills pass. So I'll cover 2 of them fairly quickly. Senate Bill 499 is an act to allow by right residential development and use in all areas zoned commercial. Right now, we don't put residential uses, residential houses in commercial. If this passes, that will be allowed. Now, you can think back through some of the commercial areas we have in town, how really residential uses in the commercial area really won't mix, but you won't have any option to stop it. The other one that is there that you all have kind of with rezonings through the years is high density development, things like that. Senate Bill 497 is a bill to be entitled an act to require the siting of middle housing structures in all residential zones. Now, middle housing is defined as a duplex, a 5-plex, a 4-plex, a 6-plex, or a townhouse, or a triplex. So this bill, if passed, will require you to allow that housing in all residential areas. So it's what that means is if there's a neighborhood in town, and there's a lot of them in town, that are single-family houses with quarter-acre lots or half-acre lots, and there is a vacant lot in that neighborhood, or somebody buys a house in that neighborhood, say in foreclosure, and they tear it down. They can put any of these middle housing structures in that neighborhood. In the past, that's not been something that was just granted. They had to come through and get it rezoned. Now it's not even something you hear as a rezoning. So we thought that might be concerning to the board. There's some other language in that bill as well, but the biggest one is it clarifies what middle housing structure is and where it can go. So keep in mind, if the other one passes, it says residential can go in commercial. Now middle housing can go anywhere, including commercial. So they're all about the calling your hand on what you can and can't do. And Senate Bill 688 basically tells you you can't do anything about it. We appreciate your service, but you can't do anything about it. So I'll read some of the highlights about Senate Bill 688, a bill to be entitled an act to amend the local government planning and development laws. The first part I've highlighted, a local government may not exercise planning, zoning, or development regulation authority except as expressly authorized by this statute. And then it gets into what this statute does and does not allow. One of the first things in the statute, it says it gets at our land use plan, which, by the way, we're in the act of redrafting and revising it. Except as expressly provided in GS 160D-703B, regulations prohibited by this subsection may not be applied directly or indirectly in any zoning district or conditional district nor may regulations be applied indirectly as part of a review pursuant to GS 160, 604, and 605 of any proposed zoning amendment for consistency with an adopted comprehensive plan or other applicable officially adopted plan. So basically, if you try to apply a regulation and say this is what our land use plan says, you can no longer do that. That's the way I interpret it. Mr. Powell's looked at it the way he interprets it as well. They also have a portion of this bill that they already have in another bill that will no longer allow you to require a set number of parking spaces for anything. So basically somebody can build a 400-unit apartment complex, and if they want to be a real jerk of a developer, they can put 10 parking spaces out there and say, rent's cheap, you got no place to park, have fun. Which I can tell you, that will lead to parking on the street, which creates a whole nother mess. So they've got two bills. It's in this bill, it's in another bill that says you can't do anything about parking. So they get in here to telling you, they kind of tell you you got to allow middle housing structures. In this bill, they go a little bit further. As you know, again, we've got RS 12, which is about 3 units per acre. We consider high density, I think anything over 3.1 units per acre, something like that. So they get in here now, the one that really impacts us, a zoning regulation or other development regulation adopted by a city with a population of 149,999 or less shall permit, no option, by right or by special use, the siting of no fewer than 4 dwellings per acre in areas zoned for residential use. So if somebody comes in here and they're going in a neighborhood where it's been 3 units per acre, 2.5 units per acre, and they come in here with a plan that's 4 units per acre, you all do not have a choice anymore except to approve it if this bill passes. The best one in here, not only do they get after the board a little bit, they are essentially, if I read this correctly and interpret it, and again, Ed and Keith and I have talked about it, they now are taking not all the power, but they're taking away all of the citizen input into the process. Right now, you all hear zoning cases and make those decisions through the legislative process. Somebody comes up and says, this neighborhood doesn't conform with what we have, it's going to be a lot of traffic, all of that. You all take that into consideration. Now, they say, a local government shall follow quasi-judicial procedures in adopting a zoning or other development regulation authorized under this section. That means quasi-judicial, our Board of Adjustment does that now. Every zoning case, the way I read it, because it is adopting a zoning or other development regulation, will be quasi-judicial. It's what that means, the way I interpret it, is that in the past, when we've had citizens come up to speak during a public hearing, the mayor will have to tell them they cannot speak unless they are an expert in that field. Because quasi-judicial requires sworn testimony, they have to be sworn in, and they have to be an expert on whatever they're talking about. So nobody can come up anymore and say, well, it's going to increase the stormwater runoff onto my property, which you all hear a lot of. Unless they're a stormwater engineer, they can't come and tell you that. So now the developer is going to be the only one to present their case in most cases because they're the only one that's going to pay somebody. The citizens aren't likely to do that. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute, yeah. So it kind of switches that, takes away from the citizen being able to really give any input. The other one is, in the past, we've been able to come in and require a condition on cases if the developer agrees to it. They now say, notwithstanding any other provision of law, in the exercise of the authority granted by this section, a local government may not require, enforce, or incorporate into the zoning regulations or require as a condition of approval of any site plan development agreement, conditional zoning permit, or any other instrument, any condition, requirement, or deed restriction not specifically authorized by law, or any condition or requirement that the courts have held to be unenforceable if imposed directly by the local government, or accept any offer by the petitioner to consent to any condition. So even if the petitioner comes in and says, I agree with it, you can't do it. Which, they agree with it, I don't understand what the problem is, but evidently somebody's had a problem with it. They've probably said, well, I had to agree to it to get my case passed. So they're really tightening up the screws on everybody. They take it one step further. In any action, this is the old language, in any action in which a city or county is a party, upon a finding by the court that the city or county violated a statute or case law setting forth unambiguous limits, it used to say on its authority. Now it says on its authority, or that its action was arbitrary and capricious. So they've added that, and you all have been through the arbitrary and capricious before. It's not real hard to prove that. The court shall award reasonable attorney's fees and costs to the party who successfully challenged the city or county's action. Then they take it one step further, and you all are familiar with this, arbitrary and capricious. New language added in this section. This whole thing that I'm getting ready to read to you is new language. In any action in which an elected official, they list all of them, but I'll just say an elected official, is a party upon a finding by the court that the elected official's individual act was fraudulent, unlawful, arbitrary, and capricious, beyond the scope of his or her statutory authority, or malicious or corrupt, may be held personally liable for any injury or damage resulting from the act, and reasonable attorney's fees shall be awarded by the court to a party who successfully challenged the act of the elected official. Where the court finds that the elected official's act was fraudulent, unlawful, arbitrary, and capricious, beyond the scope of their statutory authority, or malicious or corrupt, the defenses of public official immunity, legislative immunity, and judicial immunity are waived. So now, if somebody comes in, there's no way it can't be arbitrary and capricious, because in most cases, the citizens aren't going to get up and oppose it because they can't. So the developer presents their case, you all vote against it, the developer sues you and says it was arbitrary and capricious. It goes to court. The only people that spoke one way or the other at the public hearing was the developer. Court finds, yep, it was arbitrary and capricious. We're going to award the developer whatever the award may be. You six are on the hook for it. Personally liable. That's new language that they introduced. Why they introduced it, no clue. But that is not all that's in the bill. You all have the bill in front of you. If you'd like to read it. We did prepare a resolution opposing those 4 bills that we will send to our delegation in Raleigh. And we also drafted 2 letters for the mayor's signature to send to Senator Jones and Representative Lameth to go along with the resolutions to state, to expand upon the opposition and why we oppose it. Because if it passes, and it's ironic, I was talking to Alderman Barrow last week, and I said, before this group gets out of here, or before 5 years is over with, there won't be any zoning except for residential and everything other than residential. And literally 3 days after that, this came out. And so we're there. Now, I will tell you, in the way I read it, the quasi-judicial Now, I've got to go back and read it and get some interpretation of it. The quasi-judicial applies to every zoning case, not just residential. And I can tell you that it will clutter things up, and it will make things more difficult, and it will be a lot less options. Because if you've never been to a Board of Adjustment hearing, it is. You get sworn in, you're either an expert in this or an expert in that, and that's all that comes up. And you all sat through a lot of zoning cases where you don't have expert witnesses. So the way we see it, we've clarified it here. You all are the ones that should be deciding zoning cases for the citizens of the town of Kernersville. You all live here. You all talk to the citizens. The folks in Raleigh don't. If Raleigh wants it, one day a month they ought to have zoning cases in Raleigh. I mean, if they want it, they ought to do it. So we've clarified that in the resolution and in the letter. So that's all I've got. I think Mr. Powell's got some clarification on a few things as well from the legal side.
Quasi-judicial, for those who do not know, is like a jury. You cannot talk to either side before or during until after you've made a decision. And the evidence will be presented by the petitioner, and they will bring in expert witnesses on appraisals, stormwater, all these kind of various things that go to make up a development. And the petitioner will rest after he presents all that evidence, sworn testimony before the board, before you. At that point, they have made their case for the rezoning. Then, by law, the burden of proof shifts over to the citizenry sitting out here by the hundreds who have no access to the kind of funds it takes to hire these kind of expert witnesses. So they'll be left helpless and defenseless in any kind of case that a developer can bring before you. Because the developer will, you've seen that before when they bring in the witnesses and that kind of thing. If you've attended a Board of Adjustment hearing, that's the way it works there. And an appeal from that kind of procedure is purely on errors made at it, not a retrial. So that's the problem you really see here. It guts zoning in North Carolina. It does away with any citizen participation in helping you make your decision. And it does away with your discretion in making a decision. It puts everything in finite terms that you must obey to the peril of having personal liability. Lady and gentlemen, this is the most dangerous form of legislation I've seen put before a legislative body in my career. I've never seen anything to equal the brass that they have in bringing this and putting this kind of specific language that they have made carefully crafted to put in here about what you shall do. Whether you're Kernersville, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, wherever, it's going to apply from Manio to Murphy. And it's going to make us a totally different place to live because your citizenry will not be able to communicate with you in the fashion they do now. And I see that as a real disruption of the democratic process.
And nobody would want to serve
Well,
town council
To get sued.
to get sued.
Well, I think you're exactly right, that the good people like you who give your time and effort for good citizenship and good living, make your community better, will not be willing to serve. I don't know who would be willing to serve, but it would be a different type of person than they're sitting in this room.
And some of the concern too is, and Ed and I and Keith and I have talked about it, you know, this got filed, all four of these came in at once, and they've started with the middle housing and the requirement that you allow at least 4. Municipalities that's over 150,000 have to allow 5 units per acre. So there's great concern that at some point in time, they'll just say, if it's residential, whatever's residential goes on residential, which it only really, these bills only leave one thing out, and that's apartments. So it's all being done in kind of under the guise of affordable housing, and I can tell you, there's not much in these bills that will make housing much more affordable. There's really not. There are some ways to make housing more affordable, things like that, but taking it out of you all's hands does not make it more affordable. It cuts some of the regulations, but not much. So if they're going after affordable housing, if that's where they're getting, you have to allow a 6-plex on a residential acre. You know, you take an acre and you say, well, I can get 2 houses on it. If that acre's $100,000, then you got $50,000 in a unit. If you can put 6 on it, then you're getting down to you got about $16,500 in a unit. So you're cutting those costs down. The next thing coming is they're going to force you all to probably allow apartments in any residentially zoned area, because that just cuts down the cost, makes it even more affordable. They've not really gotten into commercial, but again, the way we interpret it is that even for commercial zoning, it's quasi-judicial. And a good example of something you would not have been able to do if this were in effect, and you all remember it, was the fish hatchery place that came down off of Berry Garden Road that wanted to expand. You all were fine with the expansion. The citizen came up and talked about the fans that were going to be the exhaust fans, the vent fans. She came up, her and her husband, she expressed her concern about that. You all changed that. 2 things here would prevent it. Number one, she wouldn't even be able to come up and speak because she's not an exhaust fan expert. I'm guessing she's not. She could have been. But if she wasn't, she would not have been able to come up and speak. Number 2, y'all couldn't have put the requirement on it even though the developer agreed. So that would have been built just like it was under this new bill, the way I read it. And I've got to verify the quasi-judicial, but the rest of it I can tell you, putting on the conditions and so forth. So the concern is, these, like Ed said, Ed's been in this a lot longer than I have, but in 27 years that I've been messing with the General Assembly and in politics, I've not seen a bill this bad in 27 years. They basically just should have come in and said, we're going to have rezoning cases in Raleigh every Thursday because y'all not doing it anymore. That's about what they're telling you. And they're started here. I don't see them ending if this gets passed. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what kind of traction this has. I know Senator Moffitt introduced 3 bills. He was a primary sponsor on 3 of them. He was a secondary sponsor on the 4th one. So he was busy last week, but I don't know what kind of traction it has to get passed. But I would say if you all want to do anything about it, now's the time to start.
I think we need to send a letter not only to our representative, but to all the other 100. This is serious business, and this is awful, and we don't need this to pass and us be asleep at the wheel. This is terrible stuff, Ed. You're absolutely right.
Let me say this to all of you that some of you know, some of you don't. I've represented some prominent North Carolina developers over the years and been very pleased to have had them hire me. They tried to work within the system and build a good state, build a good development, make a good place to live. This is beyond comprehension as to what kind of developer this will create. and bring in from wherever around the country to North Carolina to develop our properties.
I think this is going to impact the day-to-day lives of the people that are sitting out here and are watching this broadcast more than anything federal we've heard about in the last 4 to 8 years. And we have got to, I don't know where it's coming from either. If it's coming from developers, I don't care. But we have got to, and I say we as citizens, if you want us to hear you and to be able to hear you, we better get on the stick and personally contact these folks. And I agree with John. I think we ought to contact every legislator down there, but at the very least, we ought to contact Senator Caldwell Jones, and I think we ought to contact Senator Berger. I do not like what's happening. I think that they are absolutely putting us into a situation where we can't govern to protect the citizens that elect us. And we have just absolutely got to, I agree with John Barrow 100%, we better get off our duffs and express ourselves before this thing becomes law. And I think we better hold anybody who insists on doing it accountable for having done it at the ballot box. If we did that, you ought to hold us accountable at the ballot box. And we're not going to do it. I'm confident in my colleagues that we are motivated differently, but this could impact the daily lives where we live every single day.
It essentially eliminates good planning. I mean, there's no planning. You can just put residential wherever you want to. Planning for it is out the door. You just have approval, basically, is all you have. And it will, I think you're correct, it will impact as it goes forward. If it passes and development starts, it will impact the day-to-day lives of folks, has the potential to, more than the things they've seen from the federal or state government in years.
It appears that they're taking the power away from we the people.
They are trying to quickly.
Yep, absolutely.
So, if you take a well-established neighborhood, Hopkins Road is a good area. You've got Kensington, Croydon, Wellington Way.
Joe, move your microphone so we can all hear you.
Just get closer to the mic.
Just move it.
But if a vacant lot became available in Croydon, you could go out there. What are they? Well, Kensington are acre lots, because that was built before we had sewer out there. So if you had a vacant lot in Kensington, you go out there and put a 6-unit building on it.
You could put at least a 4 and y'all couldn't do anything about it. It's what they're not real clear on is the bills seem to contradict a little bit of one another. The one bill says you have to allow at least 4 units per acre. So an acre lot in Kensington, you buy it, you can build a 4-plex on it, and nothing the board can do about it. Now, the other bill that says you have to allow middle housing, it doesn't have a criteria in there as to what size lot each would go on. So depending on how it's interpreted, you would have to allow a 6-plex on it. If it could fit on there and meet all the other building code parameters, you might have to allow a 6-plex. But you for sure would have to allow a 4-plex on an acre lot. It specifically states that. If it's an acre and a half, then it's for sure a 6-plex, regardless. And it doesn't say, I think it says in one place in there that you can't restrict the height, so it could go up as opposed to going out.
4 or 5 stories.
It gets, and that's the other concerning part is there are multiple bills. Senator Moffett didn't introduce 689. He introduced one of the other ones about middle housing. He was a sponsor on 689, but that doesn't mean he read it all. So he may not realize that the bill he introduced conflicts a little bit with the requirements in the other bill. But yes, you're a prime example. There's in my neighborhood and Mayor Pro Tem Thompson's neighborhood, there's a lot on the corner. How big is that lot? A half acre, probably? He's getting ready to build a house on it for the guy that owns it, but now they could go in and put at least a duplex, if not a triplex, on it.
If the developer associations are pushing this or even remaining silent about it, shame on them.
Well, that's who's pushing it.
Shame on them.
The citizens aren't pushing it.
Shame on them.
It's got to be, in my opinion, and Mr. Rentz can probably speak to it, what he thinks. He's in it every day. But my opinion is a home builder association that's pushing it in the name of affordable housing. So, and oddly enough, in some areas, you know, the sponsor of the bill's in Rutherford County. Some areas it's not going to impact, Rutherford County probably being one of them, because they don't have the availability of sewer that much. So septic tanks are still going to come into play and limit how much development you can put on an acre and a half acre lots. So you've got a lot of counties throughout the state where these folks are from that are sponsoring these bills that it's not going to impact. The ones that will be impacted the most are your communities that have a lot of availability of water and sewer, and they don't rely on septic tanks, because then density is no issue. And does it stand a chance of passing? Probably, because a lot of your larger municipalities in the more urban settings, your Charlottes, your Raleighs, places like that, they're in favor of it to some degree. They've already tried to introduce it in Charlotte to some variation of this, and it failed. So, I don't know, but I wanted to bring it to you all's attention so you would know, and if you are in favor of the resolution and the letters, we will get on sending those out this week.
We can add in the resolution that a copy should be sent to every member of the House and Senate.
So frequently, I've written letters for the town, and you've not sent this to me in advance by email or talked to me about it. So I'd like to read the letters overnight before signing them and make sure they're okay. And then, interestingly, your resolution, and I think this is a really good part of it, references Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes. And I know Mr. Apple as an attorney, and Mr. Barrow as an attorney, and Mr. Powell as an attorney, and myself followed that the North Carolina Bar Association had study committees that included attorneys from all over the state who carefully analyzed changes to Chapter 160D before it was recommended and passed. And even then, I would argue something got missed because of how we have to break out our votes for funding nonprofits was after that was passed. So a little change in small wordings can have a big impact on our procedures, the board. But it seems like something that's this major a sea change ought to have had some time with members of the bar analyzing it from the different angles and bringing that legislative experience and citizen input from a broader standpoint than something that could potentially move very quickly. So I do appreciate the analysis of this and providing these bills to us and the resolution you drafted. But I'll come in and sign the resolution tomorrow if it passes, once Keith adds the official number. And I'll let you know if there's any changes I would want to discuss with you about the letters. Okay. And I'm assuming everybody else got a copy of the letter? Okay. So if you have anything as you look at it tonight, let me know early. All right. Any further discussion, or is there a resolution we'd like to adopt this evening?
If you all are in favor of sending something, you have the resolution there if you'd like to vote to adopt that resolution. If there's some minor changes that don't change the context of it and content, we'll make those and then start getting it out along with the letter once Mayor Morgan has finalized it.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Pennick, second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. And I don't see anything in the resolution. Correct me if you disagree, Mr. Powell, but I think we could send it to all the members as it is written.
It's not included in the language in there, but you can certainly send it to everybody.
So Keith, start working on your list for distribution, please.
Madam Mayor, should we?
Go ahead.
If there's a way that we can also disseminate this information to the Kernersvillian on the street, what's happening with this, its impact in our opinion, and contact name, addresses, and telephone numbers directly, certainly to the leadership. And I'm talking in terms of Senator Carter Jones, Senator Berger.
I know
he needs to hear from us too.
Yeah, we'll do that. And I know Louisville, I talked to one of their council members tonight. He said they've actually put the bill on their Facebook page, letting the citizens know, hey, you need to read this if you're opposed to it. I don't know if they put 688 or all four of them, but they put them on there. We'll do the same and kind of give a synopsis of what the bill is about and then put that information there for them to contact their representatives.
I would think Duncan McGinnis would be more than happy to assist us in getting the information to the public.
I agree.
Would it be worth maybe contacting the newspaper to get them involved with this too?
Yes, we'll contact Kernersville News, let them know.
Yeah.
He usually goes back and watches the meetings like tomorrow, so he'll probably contact us about it. But if not, we'll contact them.
Is there anything further on this issue? I hope the rest of your report is short.
No, I don't have anything else. That's enough.
You've been too busy working on this to prepare anything else. I imagine it did. If you didn't hear, Mr. Swisher said it took about all day to work on this.
Mr. Hooker did a lot of the drafting, so.
Yes,
Thank
he
you.
did.
It took him about all day.
Thank you, Mr. Hooker. Appreciate
He sure
it.
did.
All right. Mr. Powell, do you have anything to present in open session?
I don't have anything further except to say that I'm not casting any blame on any of the representatives and senators that are not named in the bill. And it's critical that we, as Alderman Bill Apple said, that we get the citizens involved. If you don't get the populace at large involved, it will go right on and move along fairly quickly. But if you get the citizens at large involved and let them understand what rights they are losing, as well as what rights local government is losing, it'll make a substantial difference. I don't have anything further except to say we do have need for a very short closed session.
With this, how this is positioned, would it affect municipal and county government's zoning ability?
The way I read it, it will affect county as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all zoning. And in fact, counties are mentioned in the bills. Certain, I don't recall whether it's in every bill or not. Of course, 160D affects counties and cities.
Okay. Let us move on to item 6, matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Mr. Thompson?
No, ma'am, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrow? Mr. Apple?
No, ma'am, I've said enough, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You never say too much, Mr. Apple.
Thank you.
Mr. Gorham?
No issues.
Mr. Penix?
No, ma'am.
All right. So it appears that we have a request for a closed session.
Madam Mayor, I hereby make a motion pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to enter into a closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to reserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Got a motion and a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. We are now in closed session. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Is there any further business before the board this evening? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem
Second.
Thompson, second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a great week. This meeting is now adjourned.